Alright, let's look at photopea.com. It does take a little bit extra time to load. Of course, internet speeds are going to drastically affect how quick this program works. Hopefully mine is okay for today. My internet's been a little spotty, so we'll just try it and see what happens. So first I'm going to go open, or you could go open from computer right here. And you just need to find where your picture is at. So in my case, we'll just open this up. And we are going to use it is, I believe it's this image. Okay, so this is just one of the images I used in that video where I demoed how to use the light box and the homemade light box. So a couple things with this one. First, we can see the tape right up here that I have holding the two pieces together. That was kind of a problem. I knew it was going to be a problem depending on the size of objects, but I figured with white background and white tape it should be pretty easy to remove. So we are going to look at a couple different options here to see how well photopea works. So first, I think we're just going to crop this image because I really don't need all that height. So if we just come right under our tape line, come down, and we're going to try to make it pretty close to the center. Let's try that. Enter. I think we're a little too wide. I think we want to trim a little bit more off that. And a little bit more off the bottom. I am going to look for this shadow right here and make sure that I'm not cropping that off. If I have that shadow in there, it is a part of my picture and it'll create a little bit of a tangency if I cut it off. So we're just going to look at that. So right now I'm just judging from the edge of the shape to the edge of my frame, kind of looking at that negative space to see how much I should really cut off. So I think we'll be right about in there. So we'll cut that off there. That looks pretty good. One thing to keep in mind, remember our objects, that gravity thing, heavy objects, really any objects are going to want to kind of sink down near the bottom. So that's why I cut a little bit more off the bottom, have a little bit extra space at the top. It centers it, and then it also allows it to kind of feel balanced, physically balanced, and it by having it on that bottom edge. Okay, so from there we're going to duplicate our background just by hitting Control J. You can see that same shortcut in Photoshop worked. I now have a background layer. I'm going to zoom in, Control plus, it still works. Spacebar turns it to the hand. I'm going to come up with my Band-Aid tool, or J, right here, and I'm just going to look for those little airs in it that need to be removed, especially with this nice white pure background. I'm going to make sure that it is clean, there wasn't little specks of dirt or anything on it. We're going to just get a little bit closer. This is also another vase I've made. It's called a horsehair vase. Basically you put acid on it, put it in the kiln. When it gets to 1600 degrees, you pull it out of the kiln when it's red hot, and then all these black lines we see right in here, those are pieces of horsehair. So I just took some hair and I basically laid it on to the pot and it burned the hair into it. For marketing sense, I'm not going to clean the pot up too much. I don't know, I could maybe get rid of these two little spotches. I want to make sure I'm not going to do anything that really alters it though. So if we scroll back up to the top here, you can see there's a tiny chip out of it. I could fix that, but if I'm going to be selling this piece, I want to actually avoid doing that, because then someone gets it, they can make that claim that I sold them something that was broken that they didn't know about. But if I let that be in the photo still, then we have that photo evidence that that's how it is. We can point it out. I think being ethical is always worth it. I don't Me personally, I try to live as ethically correct as I can, regardless if that means I'm going to lose out on some money or selling a product. I'd rather be honest with all my dealings. Okay, so Control 0 brought me right back here. And now I'm going to look at different ways to edit it. We're going to look down near the bottom. Adjust that a little bit so you can see it better. Right here, this one is our adjustment layers. So if I click levels, I'm just going to start with this one. It works just the same. I'm going to take my black levels adjustment and I'm going to pull it in. And get some more of that accurate color, so probably right about in there. My white values, I could pull in just a little bit, maybe about there. So now if we want to look at our before and after, you can really see a difference between those two. And I'm going to do the same thing with curves. I'm going to go ahead and pull my darks down just a little bit. You can see I'm actually not going to do too much to this one. That color is already looking pretty accurate now to what it should. So I'll bump that white up just a little bit. But on this, the left side of the vase, I'm seeing a little bit of that highlight coming through right in here. That's just a little too bright, I think, for what I'm going for. And so I'm going to click on this mask now, right here, this square. That's our layer mask. And I'm going to hit X so we get that black paint on top. And then I'm going to change my opacity of this brush right up here. I'm going to turn it down fairly low because I want to be able to layer this. So we'll go about 15%. And now I'm just going to, with a fairly large brush, just paint in right on that highlight. If you look over here, you can see we have that little gray spot. That's just showing where we painted 15% black. Backslash, you can see here it kind of turned it that faint red because that's where I've painted. Now I'm just going to go over it again. So it's going to apply another 15% to this area where I paint. So that would be 30% black. What we're seeing is it's really just kind of pulling that highlight back down so it's not getting too bright. You know, I think that's still a little brighter than I would like. Let's do another one. So this is now the 4th time I have layered a 15% black over it. If I hit backslash, you can see it's getting pretty red there. Now if we look at our before and after, you see those colors really kind of come through because those oranges are now starting to pop. And I think really on this image, that's all I really need to do. I don't need to do a whole lot more to it. But just for the sake of this, well, actually let's take it through the ending. So I'm going to do Control-Shift-E. That shortcut will not work in this one. Let's see. Oh, it did work. It's just being slow. So that just merged my layers back down. Then I'm going to do Control-J to duplicate my layer. We're going to go up to Filter, Other, High Pass. We will turn this up so we can just kind of barely see. Ooh, it is a little slow. We want to barely be able to see our image, so probably right about there. I can see a little bit of those lines coming through. I'll hit OK. Come over here and change it from normal to hard light. And then I want to zoom in. Let's keep switching back and forth. Ooh. So if you click and hold and move to the left, it zooms out. Click and hold, move to the right, and it zooms in. Whoa. Evidently it's really touchy. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. to at least 50%. I'm going to look at my before and after. See, that just looks a little too texturized for me. So I'm going to change it from hard light to soft light. Now if we look at the before and afters, we just get a little bit more detail, but it doesn't look super coarse. I'm going to do Control-Shift-E again. Ooh. It's having a hard time. There we go. Let's give it a second to think. So I just merged those layers back together. And now to save this, this is where it's a little different. So if you can save it as a PSD, or if you come to export, this is what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to export this as either a JPEG or a PNG. Those are the two best options out of this. Oh no, they do have TIFF. There it is. So honestly, if it was me, I would probably do a TIFF because it's, if you read through that PowerPoint about image quality, TIFF is a little bit better for you. But just for the sake of saving some space right now, I'm going to do JPEG. So here we are, save for web. Quality, I'm going to turn this up all the way. Click save, and you can see it's just going to download it wherever you want to save it to. And one downside of this program is you saw that it said save to web. That means, if I'm right, and we'll check it right now, that the overall quality of this image is going to be actually a little bit lower. So let's where did it save it? Hold on. Let's move this to a. Let's go to my downloads real quick. Now if I open this actually up in Photoshop, yeah, the resolution's 240 on it, and that's not bad. You can actually get an 8x10 print out of that. Yeah, so you can see that photopea.com does work pretty well. It's really similar. Pretty much everything that Photoshop has, the website has. It is not going to quite work as good as Photoshop. That's why Photoshop is a lot of money and takes up a lot of memory. But compared to nothing, it is way better for you. Let me know if you have any questions.